What's going on, guys? BladeZilla here, and today I've got another cool one from Custom Knife Factory. And once again, I wanted to show the super cool little package that these guys kind of come with in the little Velcro wrap. Kind of unbox it together, and then show you what's inside, and kind of be off to the races. So let's do that now, and kind of get into it. So I always love how they come, super soft, big Velcro sleeve. Love that kind of stuff. So knife wrapped in a towel, we've got the COA, and then the spare parts. So I believe they're a little different for every single knife that they come with for CKF, but I believe this one I can see some bearings in there, some hardware, all kinds of good stuff, and then the CKF Brat COA. So pretty cool. Leave that in there. And kind of get on to this one. There we go. Pretty cool. It's like unwrapping a burrito. And there you have it. Short and sweet of it. That is the CKF Brat. Alright, so now that we have that all unwrapped, quick reminder, check out the site, BladeZilla.ca in Canada, where a lot of the stuff featured on this YouTube channel are available for purchase. So right now I just added some new Protex, lots of cool stuff, some Astroms, I've got a Loxa in there as well, bunch of CKFs, Microtex, Protex, you name it. There's lots of goodies on there. If there's something on the site that you guys, if there's something that you guys want in Canada, send me a note. Would love to be able to facilitate that. So anyway, just a quick note. But that's not what it's about. It's about this knife today. Really cool knife that kind of fell under the radar a little bit. As you guys know, I love my plain Jane knives with a little bit of pizzazz to it. And I think this is exactly that knife. You know, plain Jane tie with that real cool kind of ZircuTi pocket clip. Just adds a nice little flair to it. So let's take a look at this today, and let's actually pull that out. Ooh, nice and smooth. It's kind of got that two-tone kind of finish to it, where it's kind of got like a stone wash. I don't know what they call that, like a CKF wash or something on the blade, and then almost like a little bit of a satin flat on the blade. Pretty cool. I believe this one is M398 as well, a real nice hard steel. And I don't know if it's written anywhere on here. Oh, there it is. Just hidden in the back, M398. Pretty cool. Nice little touch. And so this is what we're going to be talking about today. So let's sit down, grab yourself a beer, coffee, whatever you got to do. And for me, it's going to be a club soda. Starting the new year right. I actually have a grape bubbly with me, which is grapefruit bubbly, which is kind of BS, but that's what the wife got. So let's get some measurements on this, and some weights and some comparisons, and kind of go from there. So overall length on this guy, we're coming in at under 8 inches, which is a good size, good size EDC, and I think I'm seeing 3 1/4 on the blade. That looks about right. I would have thought it'd be longer, but 3 1/4 or center to the choil, 3 3/8. So it's a really good size, I'd say mid-size knife, which is just gorgeous. We'll get the weight on this as well, and I have a feeling it's heavier than 3 1/4 ounces, which is our ounces to inches scale that we always like to talk about. And let's use that red cloth. Why not? Zero this out. It's probably 4 1/2. Feels pretty heavy. Sorry, did I just see 5.1? Let's zero this one more time. 5.1, there you go. So quite a bit heavier than the ounces to inches. And I don't know, this is just my scale. Maybe the target weight on it's 5 ounces. Sometimes, as you guys know, they build them all by hand, and sometimes they're all a little bit different. But 5.1 ounces on this guy, which is reasonable. It's not a big knife, and I didn't even sorry guys, I didn't even measure the handle on it. For those always interested in just the handle length. 4 5/8. I get asked the handle length fairly often. So there you go. 4 5/8, a real nice one. And one of the things that I've taken photos of this knife in the past, and the one thing that I notice under like a macro lens that you probably aren't seeing because it's stone washed and hides a lot of this, but like the CKF logo, there's like tons of micro milling around it. And it's probably hard to see, especially when the camera's not focused. It's trying to pick up on that eye or the bolt on there for some reason. But yeah, there's a lot of micro milling on this that has kind of gone under the radar, just like the knife itself, I'd say. So something to keep in mind. It definitely looks real sharp once you kind of get in there. I don't know if it's gonna focus correctly, but there's a ton of milling in there. As for the rest of the design, like I said, it's an Alexei Konigan design. So we've had a handful of his knives come through. Most notable, some of the tractors. Those were just huge. I think I had... Did he do that? I had a Sheer Goroff Konigan Quantum or F95. I can't remember what it was. That one was really cool as well. Kind of in line with the tractor style. And this one, you know, it's an interesting design. So let's kind of start with the design itself. So you kind of have two big halves, wedges, in the milling, which fits your hand nicely. You can kind of see it tapers bigger to the back half on the top, so that's kind of where your palm would be, on both sides, right? The clip itself, you can see peeking underneath there's a couple screws to hold the, I believe it's an inset liner. So if I pop that open, you can see that liner lock is kind of just hidden nicely inside there. Really compact, really tight. That's what she said. And not a ton of milling, but like, you know, fairly big squares, big pockets, not stepped like some of the high-end stuff, but certainly big pockets of material taken out of there, which is kind of weird when you see 5 ounces. I didn't expect it to be that, but it's a solid chunk of titanium, that's for sure. The clip is attached internally. Hopefully you can see that right here. And then those two screws, I believe, is what, 1, 2, yeah, 2 screws underneath holds that liner lock in place. Quite nice, very nice. And I actually want to detract my previous statement about it not being really milled inside. It's actually looking more I look at this, it's actually like milled like crazy. I just think the halves are really big. And maybe that's why I didn't think it was micro milled, but there's a lot of milling inside there, which is cool. The lock bar itself, as you can kind of see, they've got this cutout on the non-lock side, so that if you, or I guess that's the show side, so when you are reaching through to grab it, it kind of makes that distance feel a little artificially smaller, that little cutout there. But I would also say, you know, the lock's not raised. It looks like it's got 3 or 4 passes of micro milling on it. It looks real nice actually in person. And that would be the kind of thing that I, you know, macro lens, Instagram, make some cool pics of. That looks real nice. Lock up, pretty light, but you know what, about right where it needs to be, I'd say. Action, multi-row bearings. It's actually really silky smooth. 2 nice thick thumb studs on there, which are kind of, they're actually really milled quite nicely in a volcano pattern. Gorgeous knife. The more I look at this thing, it's actually more of a heavy hitter than I was kind of anticipating. I did not really, when I first looked at this one, I didn't really have too much high hopes for it, just because it looks, you know, when it's sitting down, it just looks like a super plain knife design. But the more I dig into some of these details, the more I kind of go, well, you know what? It's actually got a lot to it, a lot more to it than I was kind of anticipating. Hardware-wise, well, first of all, look at these massive Torx bits on there. Those have to be T30s, T25s, and lots of material on there. On the black back, I think, are both blanks as well, which is nice. So that would mean you obviously can't strip the frame out. If you could probably replace those, or they might even be in the bag, not too sure. And I'm not gonna look. But if they come with bearings, I'm sure there's the hardware in there as well. They are raised a little bit. I don't know if you can see this, but so the back of this handle is obviously kind of beveled so that this can stick out just a bit. So the material, to me, it looks like that hardware is kind of riding a little high, but I guess it's actually sunk down in the handle, which is kind of funky. The main pivot definitely sticks out a little bit, but I believe the hardware is beveled as well. Hopefully you can see that on there. I'm trying to show you angles so you can kind of see what I'm looking at, but it definitely is rounded along the edge. It's not flat necessarily. And then the hardware on the other side does the same thing. It kind of raises a little bit, not too much, just a little bit. What else do we have hidden in here? So I'm kind of wondering. So obviously we can see here that is raised. There's a little micro tab right there. And I think to myself, I'm like, I wonder if that's part of the design. Like, could you flip with it? Maybe. With a little bit of English. I'm sure I could. Remember, I'm wrapped around a tripod. Like, I'm hugging a tripod right now when I film these, so I can't really add a whole bunch of English to my hand. But I have a feeling if you got this knife and started playing with that tab, you could do something cool with it. And I'm kind of like, obviously the design of it is probably not meant to be a flipper tab because it lines up nicely with the bottom on here, the jimping. You know, it's just the overall design. So it's meant more of a grip, right? So yeah, I'm just curious if anyone's actually using it as a dedicated flipper tab. You can get away with it. Obviously it's pretty fidgety with those thumb studs, but the tab would add a little flavor to it. I love the idea of this kind of pinched together frame. That looks so sick to me. And once again, adds to the quote basic kind of ingredient list of when I first saw this. I was like, yeah, it's pretty basic. But it's a really cool design feature. That's probably very hard to do and execute on. And I don't know if they bend the frame that way or how they do it, but I'm just like, if we're looking at this from a manufacturing perspective, what's the standard line on here? The outside would be flat, and then how do you mill it so that this pushes back? Like, that's very interesting to me. Really cool. Usually you have a backspacer, right? You mill the two halves, you put a backspacer or something in between to kind of separate them. So that's a really cool little design execution. Obviously dead center, and actually with it kind of squished together in the handle, it even adds to the centering effect. Whoa. Very cool. I really did not think this knife would be this detailed on execution. That is a cool detail. I like that kind of stuff. And it's the tolerances in there, there's not much room. Wow. Super cool. In terms of, you know, there is a bit of coverage, obviously, for that blade, so you're not going to get your finger in there and poke at it or anything, so that's a nice little touch as well. And then you can run it with a lanyard hole, obviously, very Stellar-esque, right? Good looking knife. I like this. I really like this. And then, you know, I haven't even really talked about the ZircuTi clip. That is just another piece of gorgeousness. Really well executed. You can see all the layers in there. Hopefully the cameras can focus on that, but you can kind of see all the layers in there. Looks really, really nice. Cool. In terms of sizing, well, let's grab a couple Sebenzas and a couple Shiros and kind of see what we're really looking at here. So there's your small Sebenza. Everyone wants to see Sebenzas lately. And we'll grab my large 31 drop point to kind of give you a size reference. So it's very, it's lining up hardware to hardware. It's smaller than a large Sebenza. It's kind of between the two. Like I said, very Stellar-esque size-wise, but a taller handle, more angular, you know, like a stealth bomber would be. Pretty cool. plain Jane stealth bomber, flying under the radar. Knife itself, flying under the radar. Let's grab a quantum and a neon. There's your quantum. And there's your neon. There we go. Surprisingly, the neon is, if I were to line these guys up, about there, it's a little smaller, but not by much. Much taller, much bigger, much girthier. A lot heavier of a knife as well. And then let's grab that Astrum. Where is that? Where is my Astrum? Okay, there we go. They keep moving around. Sometimes I just fidget. So there's your Astrum. To give you an idea, quite a bit bigger. Lengthwise, but once again, handle, quite a bit thinner. Crazy, eh? That's going to kind of be it from the Shiros that I'm going to kind of compare it with. I'll do a Rosie as well. It's not really in the same league, but you get a really tall handle on the Rosie, so that's kind of why I wanted to compare the two. A Roosevelt. So, close. Just to give you an idea. Two different knives. Look at this massive drop on this too. So pretty cool. Really cool blade grind on that actually. Okay. Well, that is the Brat. In full M3, or I guess they're calling it M398 in full ties with Zirc. I can't recall if they made a bunch of versions of this with any full dress or Damasteel or anything, Damascus, I guess. I can't really recall if they did. So, this would be my configuration. As you guys know, I like plain Jane with a little pizzazz, and that's exactly what this is. In hand, it just feels like a very reliable basic design, right? 5 ounces, it's got some weight to it in hand. I'm really comfortable with that jimping on the blade, which is flat all the way down and then actually expands out to give you a little support on the tip. And the angular side of this, remember I'm an extra large glove, and I've still got room for another finger really. It fills my hand nicely, but the whole angle of this, the design here, your hands fall right onto it, really nicely and comfortably. I think I really undersold this. The more I'm playing and fidgeting and feeling this design, I'm really liking it. I did not really expect this. And shorter blade, yes, 3 1/4. The handle feels like a handle that would be on a knife that would be closer to 3.5 inches, I'd say. So it just fits really nice. And then that kind of weird, wacky execution on that pinched together titanium scale, like that is so cool. I haven't really seen that elsewhere. I really haven't seen that elsewhere. Have you guys? Like, is this an Alexei Konigan thing? I'm just trying to think how they manufacture that more than anything. Either they're bending the frame, or they're milling the absolute hell out of the insides of these down to kind of put that bend in it. But it looks like it's put together so well, no gaps, all down the handle. And then the execution on the centering is just off the charts. That's a real cool detail. Very nice. And then the flipper tab, I don't even know if you'd call it the flipper tab. I just think that's more of an afterthought. I'm sure it could be a flipper tab, but then it would kind of be bizarre, right? If it's stuck high, it's more of a usable design when it's kind of, I don't know, part of the handle, I guess. And looking at the handle one more time here, it's very symmetrical, right? 2 anchor points on either side, nice and flat. No breaks for your fingers to split. Maybe this is why it just feels so comfortable in hand. It's just easy. It's very classic. But then if you look at the shaping of the handle, it's quite thin in the front and gets more, it gets a little bigger towards the heel. So it just fits your palm really nicely. I didn't expect this knife to kind of impress me this much. I was kind of expecting more of a, okay, here's the knife. Not a huge fan of it. It's just a little too plain, but now you're looking at how it's executed, the stonewash. I love the CKF stonewash. These big, thick, angular kind of design elements, and then the pinch scales. And then we've barely talked that it's M398 and then the cool two-tone finish to the blade. That's just a nice little add-on. That's a great looking knife. And obviously the thumb studs, super cool. That weird flipper tab. Yeah, man, I'm thinking this is a cool knife. This would be a great EDC with a nice thick, bead on there. Just be cool. You could beat it up, scratch it. M398's gonna come back for more. Super tough. And then you kind of got a cool knife that if you threw down on a table and the ZircuTi's on there, people would probably be like, what the heck is that? Whereas on this side, it's like just a plain pocket knife. This side, it's like, whoa, what's going on? That's pretty interesting. What's that? And then it's all the screws are hidden underneath that clip. That's a cool knife. I really dig this. I really dig this from CKF. Cool. All right, well, I've probably blabbed on for 20 minutes, and I was kind of aiming for 10, so I apologize. If you are interested, I've got a few of these left in the store. Not sure if I'll be topping them up, because I think it's a design that's maybe a year old now, 8 months old, and I think the production run's done on them, so might be able to get a couple more, but that'll probably be it. But yeah, anyway guys, Happy New Year, by the way. Filming this on January 1st and should be coming out on the 2nd. So Happy New Year. Hopefully you guys enjoyed your holidays and are ready to go and set some goals and be real exciting and have some cool new knives to flip in 2025. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, YouTube. Obviously you're here. Throw a thumbs up, a like, a sub, whatever. TikTok as well, Facebook, and otherwise, BladeZilla.ca. Check it out. And if you have any questions, I'd love to help you guys out. And more than anything, just chat on Instagram or whatever. It's always fun. Okay, guys, have a fantastic rest of your week or start of 2025. Or if you're watching this later down the road, 2025, 2026, it's a little miss the boat on this. But have yourself a fantastic week and day, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys. Peace.